Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to tell you a terrifying story about a forgotten summer camp hidden deep in the woods, a place that has been abandoned for decades and for good reason. So grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and prepare for chills. And now let's begin. It all started when a group of 4 teenagers, Ethan, Claire, Marcus, and Julia, decided to sneak out one weekend to explore the infamous Camp Ashwood. The camp had closed down 30 years ago after a mysterious fire claimed the lives of several children. Locals said the fire wasn't an accident, that something darker had happened there. Some whispered about a counselor who went mad, others about a presence that fed on fear. Either way, no one ever went back. But to Ethan and his friends, it sounded like the perfect place for a midnight thrill. They hiked through the forest under a crescent moon, their flashlights bobbing between the trees. Eventually, the woods opened to a clearing, and the camp stood before them like a corpse frozen in time. The cabins sagged, their roofs caved in, windows broken like jagged teeth. A rusted swing set groaned in the wind, moving though no one touched it. They laughed nervously as they entered the grounds. "Creepy, but not that bad," Marcus muttered. Julia stayed close to Claire, her hands trembling. The campfire ring in the center of the field was filled with ashes that looked disturbingly fresh. Ethan joked, "Maybe someone still lives here." But his grin quickly faded when a sharp crack echoed from the trees behind them. Inside the main lodge, dust covered every surface. Old posters of smiling campers peeled from the walls, their faces warped with age. Broken bunks leaned against the walls, and a row of counselors' whistles still hung from rusty nails. Claire picked one up, raising it to her lips. "Don't." Ethan snapped, but it was too late. She blew softly, and the shrill sound pierced the silence. Almost immediately, the air grew colder. The faint smell of smoke filled the room. Somewhere distant, a child's laugh echoed, soft at first, then multiplying, overlapping, as if dozens of unseen children surrounded them. Julia dropped her flashlight in panic, the beam rolling across the floorboards. "Okay, that's not funny," Marcus said, his voice cracking. But no one was laughing. They decided to leave, but the lodge doors slammed shut with a force that shook the walls. Dust rained from the ceiling. The friends pulled and yanked, but the doors wouldn't budge. Ethan's light flickered, and in its stutter, he thought he saw something, a small figure at the far end of the hall. A boy, no older than 10, skin pale, eyes black as voids. When the light steadied, he was gone, heart pounding. Ethan led them out through a broken window. They ran toward the cabins, desperate to find another exit from the grounds. But the camp had changed. The paths twisted in directions they hadn't taken. Cabins stood where none had been before, and every corner seemed to lead them deeper into a maze of decay. At one cabin, they stumbled inside to catch their breath. Children's drawings still hung on the walls, crude crayon sketches of campers smiling by a fire. But the colors were smeared, the faces melting into grotesque expressions. In the corner, an old rocking chair began to move on its own, creaking slowly back and forth. Then came the whispers, dozens of voices overlapping, chanting one word. "Stay, stay, stay." The sound grew louder, pressing into their skulls, until Julia screamed and bolted outside. The others followed, only to find a campfire ring now blazing with tall flames. Silhouettes of children danced around it, their bodies blackened, their movements jerky and unnatural. The friends backed away, But the figures turned in unison, their hollow eyes locking onto them. One child stepped forward, its mouth stretching impossibly wide. In a voice that didn't belong to any human, it hissed, "You shouldn't have come back." Panic exploded. They ran blindly through the woods, branches clawing at their skin, until at last the trees thinned and the dirt road appeared. Their car was still there, waiting like a lifeline. They piled inside, slamming the doors, gasping for breath. As Ethan turned the key, he glanced back at the tree line. The camp was gone. Only the forest stood, quiet and dark. But just before the engine roared to life, a whistle echoed through the night. Sharp, shrill, the sound of a counselor calling his children home. They drove without looking back. None of them spoke about that night again, though Julia swore she still heard that whistle outside her window some nights. And that's where our story ends. If you enjoyed this horrifying tale, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and tap the notification bell so you won't miss my next scary stories. Until then, stay safe and don't wander into forgotten places.